It is now time to add some extra details to that mirror. Don't worry, this time it will be much easier. So for the mirror arm, just duplicate that plastic material and rename it mirror arm or whatever. And now let me turn that on and turn on. Create a new UV map and we'll rename it Mitsubishi logo or whatever you want to call it. Then I will unwrap those two faces only. You can find the texture we will use in the Google Drive link either in the description or in the comments below. So similar to what we did before, we'll duplicate all of that image texture and bring back a UV map node, select the new UV map, plug that into the vector, and then duplicate the node, the bump node. Plug our image into the height input. You can preview it and see if it looks good, and add a mix RGB. Set it to add just to be sure. And you can see I forgot to duplicate that the node group of the plastic, but don't worry too much because since only this part has a second UV map, it will only affect this one. So just place the logo where you want it to be, just like here. Feel free to rotate it, to just scale it, whatever. And then once you're ready, just Control A on this. No, Control Shift. Why do I always say Control A? My bad. You can play with the strength and with the invert button, just if you prefer it to be embossed or in a, like over the surface. Just like this. Okay, now we'll check if this looks good. You can continue to adjust it if you need to, but we'll work on the mirror. So create a new UV map, rename it warning text or something similar, like image closer, something similar to what we will add. As always, you can find the logo that we will use in the description. Now add an image texture and press Ctrl T to it. Then add a mix RGB, plug the color into the factor, remove the mapping and add a UV map, just like here. Plug that here. And look up for the text that says that objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, and unwrap the three bottom faces. Make one of the color black and we'll keep the other one as a light gray if not white. Then in the UV editing tab, we will just scale it and rotate it until we are happy with it. Plug the alpha instead of the color. It will work better. And set it to clip instead of repeat, so we only have one logo and not a whole lot of them. You can scale it if needed. Just rotate it so it's straight, just like here. Plug that into the color and preview what it looks like. And now we will need to flip those colors. So you can do that with an invert node, or you know what, we'll create a second principled BSDF and we'll use the mix factor over here instead. So that way we can have one chrome and for example we could have one plastic instead of having the same roughness. Let's switch those two. And turn down the metallic to 0. And crank up the roughness to around 0.6, 0.7. And just like that. That's perfect. Now for this, we forgot to shade it smooth. And we'll just scale this down a tiny bit so it's bigger. And let's give it another material that's different. Just a plastic will work fine. Alright, sorry for that. I had some issues with the material. And it's probably just the normals being flipped. So, just a little mistake that happens all the time, so don't panic if this happens to you as well. Just like this. This fixed it. Sorry for that. And I'll just scale it up again so it covers the edges. We can also make the inside of the mirror black by adding a black plastic material or something similar. Just like that. That will look better. Let me just adjust that. Flip the normals on this one as well. And we may need to resize that in the UV editing. Okay, now create a new UV map and rename it blind spot warning or something similar. And unwrap the corner, top left corner face. So for this one, it's a bit more tricky. We'll duplicate our shader here at the top and duplicate those 3 nodes. Change the UV map to the one we just created. Change the image for the one that looks like a mountain. It's kind of 2 triangles next to each other, just like that. Scale it until it looks good. So I'll just rotate it this way. Okay, that's perfect. Duplicate that mix shader, then use the alpha as the factor, and let me just plug that in. Change the color to a white. We may need to make it orange. So I'll change that for this color instead. Then using a bump, we'll plug the image into the bump and then the bump into the normal socket. Then you can add a wave texture. And let's duplicate that bump. Add a mix RGB. And then plug the color into okay, now you can adjust the scale. And since it will be glass, we need to make the surface behind to be full. So that's why I just extruded that edge loop right there. Okay, so back to the mirror. So play with the scale until you're happy. You can skip this part if you want. It's not really needed. It's just a tiny extra detail. Just forgot to plug it in height instead of the strength. And you can use a mapping node just to control the angle. And I'll try to align it with the slope of the mountain. Let's crank up transmission to 1. And you can reduce the strength if it's not transparent enough for you. Select those 3 bottom faces, and then we'll go into the UV editing tab and move them out of the way. Just like that. Pretty simple. Let's now use our base mesh to the full extent and add some extra details to the mirror shell. So selecting the case, I guess, on the mirror. Just like here, we're going to go into edit mode and then slide those vertices so that they are straight with the other ones. Just like so. Hide that loop over here. And then we're going to deselect this one. And go in wireframe and using the circle select, deselect some faces until you have like a quarter of a mirror selected. And separate that into a new mesh. Just like so. Can now select this loop over here, extrude it, and then scale it down just a tiny bit. Now going into the new object, we're just going to bring back the vertices so that it's a bit smaller and fits into the new area. Just like that, we will extrude it and then scale it down. And remove it from the shrink wrap group. Add loop cuts to tighten those corners. Just like here. Turn on auto merge and then merge those to have a 45-degree angle. Add the loop cut over here. And if you have some shrink wrap issues, just remove some vertices or move them. I'll just need to bring that closer over here. I can just remove it. It might be easier. Or no, just pull them back. Let's not make things too complicated. So I'll just move that over here so it's straight. And same for those. So selecting those 6 vertices, I'll pull them back over here, just like that. And those 2 needs to be adjusted. Okay. And since this is very small, it's not very important, but I still want to do it in case we have a close-up shot of the mirror. You may need to remove some vertices from the shrink wrap group, or even remove some bits, just like here. And then I will extrude that to reconstruct this part. And just like here. I'll need to move it closer. And let's assign the black plastic material to that rim. Use Ctrl+ if needed, just like so. Now for this one, I will assign the black plastic material. Same for this loop, so that the rim is completely black. Okay, now let's continue with this one. We may need to move vertices around. If you happen to have some glitches, now selecting a rectangular bend just like this, I will inset the faces and then separate them into a new mesh. Add loop cuts here just to make it a bit prettier. Now let's slide this over here and slide those 2 over there so that we have a sharp corner on the small piece, but keep a rounded one on the mesh. Now tighten that corner just like here with only the vertices at the bottom. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we have our turn signal indicator on the mirror, pretty much done. Remove the material and go to the solidify modifier and uncheck only rim, because it will be glass and glass needs thickness. So having the wavy glass material, just like so, I will create a duplicate of it before trying to change the color. Now we can try playing around with like an orange, but I will go back to gray. I think it will look better. Now you can try playing around with different patterns, like having only one of the bend being colored, something like that. Now going to edit mode, I will duplicate it. Remove all of this over here. So that now you have a copy that is glass and then a copy that is inside that is chrome. Just like so. You can make it black, you can make it the color that you want. You could even use the Carlite material that has the triangular bumps to create that inner part and add some texture to it. So just like so, we have our mirrors. Okay, and I will make, I think, the corner of the mirror black. If it's in plastic, I think it will look good. So selecting the car point slot, I will just add a black plastic material. And I think that looks pretty nice. But feel free to decide what you want. You can just put it all black. You can try just with the car paint. different textures. So let's try the opposite, just having this corner in color. And that does not look good. Okay, that's pretty much it for the mirrors. We will now start to add some details like logos. So in BlenderKit search bar, type Mitsubishi logo or PL, you may even find it there, and download this one. So it should appear where your 3D cursor is. So just selecting it. And then turn on my auto screen keys. Then inside view, let's just place it on the grill. Just like here. Now that's perfect. You could even do like a small socket for it by editing that trim piece, but I won't. I would recommend it though if you do it for like a hood part, or if the logo is not the same material as your panel. So for this instance, both are chrome, so it looks good if they're matched together. But if you were placing it on a car paint spot, then definitely try to do a socket if you want to do close-ups of it. So duplicate this, you can use Alt-D if you like the shape, and then I will place it on the back part of the car. Just like so. We're going to align it. I guess you could turn on clip to faces, like snap to individual origin or stuff like that. That might make it easier, but I am fine with manual adjustments, just like so. So for this one, I will duplicate it again, and then rotate it by 90 degrees. Just like so, and add a mirror modifier with the mirror object as the hood. Always use the same object for every mirror part that you have. So I will place it on the big pillar that we have at the back. Just like so. About in the middle. Slide it inside the panel a tiny bit, and then add a car paint material to this one. Just as a tiny extra detail. Now we can try different finishes for this one, like a black plastic. But then again, if you plan on doing close-ups of it, I would recommend doing a socket for it by just cutting with the knife tool or something similar into the trim piece and just extruding those faces back. Just before I forget, let me turn that on. We will need to mirror the UVs of our mirror arm, just like here, because you can see the logo is flipped. So select that part, and then into the mirror settings, just check mirror U, and you can press mirror V if needed, but for me it was the U. So that's it for now, and both of them should be nice and clean now. So do this for every part that has text or logos that is mirrored. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. I'll just do this for that one as well. Perfect.